You're watching CBS News 24/7, and quite an extraordinary meeting in the Oval Office between President Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. They were both very complimentary, as you heard, very civil. And this comes just weeks after the president urged voters not to vote for him in New York City's mayoral election. The president expressed hope for Mamdani's tenure as mayor. Listen.
I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he's going to be. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people. He won't surprise them because they already like him.
Mamdani as well, also very complimentary of Trump about their meeting this afternoon.
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president, I appreciated the conversation, I look forward to working together.
God, I love the hog meltdown. God, I love the hog tears. Oh my God, what a time. What a life.
There you go.
Look how happy he is. Look at his face. Look at his face. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I told you. I told you he was going to be way, way nicer to Zohran in person. This doesn't mean he's not going to keep daggering him. He will. He will. He will keep playing. He'll keep playing the song and dance like, oh, yeah, Zohran Mamdani, he's crazy. He's a communist. He's a radical communist Marxist. He's out of his mind, whatever. Trump and Mamdani giving the country a vision that of what bottom v top rather than left v right policy would look like, if not historic, is a genuinely novel development. It's so funny to see the left slobber over Trump like this after claiming that liberals are too conciliatory and insufficiently combative. I don't agree with either party's assessment here. I just don't think, I don't agree with Ryan saying this. I don't think Donald Trump is doing top versus bottom politics. Not only is he a billionaire, but it's very obvious that his policy agenda is entirely around beefing up culture war narratives in an effort to confuse people or to distract them when he is just robbing them blind. The commonality is that Trump and Mamdani understand that most Americans are unhappy with the status quo. This makes them more in sync with the electorate than the brain-dead neoliberalism in the GOP. This is a better assessment. This is a better assessment than what Ryan Grimm is saying. Donald Trump ran on a wave of anti-establishment anger and resentment, and he won on that anti-establishment wave and resentment. Ryan is 1,000% right, and you are acting like grass looking at the trees. You're saying I'm missing the forest for the trees? Are you serious? Donald Trump's entire worldview and his style of politics is sloppyism, okay? Using fake populism to garner support only to over the working class by refocusing their efforts on culture war narratives, culture war issues, everybody transgender. That is the exact opposite of down-up politics, top-bottom politics, okay? Donald Trump is a Republican. Republicans don't do class politics, or rather, they do class politics all the time, but they do it at the behest of the billionaire class. Democrats also do it at the behest of billionaire class too. But the Republicans are open about their disdain for the poor for the most part. Donald Trump is a newer version of this because he just fakes it like he's one with the working class. Oh my God. I did miss this part. Stefanik has called Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now? Oh my God. I missed this part. Dude, oh my God, at least Stefanik's going to kill herself, dude. Holy shit. He just destroyed her entire gubernatorial run. Look, we want New York City to succeed, but we'll have to agree to disagree on this one. If he walks like a jihadist, he talks like a jihadist. If he campaigns like a jihadist, if he supports jihadists, he's a jihadist. And he's Kathy Hochul's jihadist. Oh my God. You didn't miss it? You literally commented on it when we were watching? No, I missed that it was about Elise Stefanik.
Right now in the Oval Office?
No, I know, but she's out there campaigning, and you say things sometimes in a campaign.
Isn't that sort of
She's a very capable person. But you really have to ask her about that. But I don't particularly. I think I met with I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again. And I can say again, because New York was great. You know what I'm reading? Please.
Hottest.
Hochul said he's dabbing on her. Full statement from Kathy Hochul. Hochul campaign communications director Serafina Chitika released the following statement. The entire country just watched Donald Trump throw Elise Stefanik under the bus the same way she's been throwing New Yorkers under the bus for years. In one breath, Trump nuked her opening argument and told every New Yorker listening that she's only playing politics. We haven't seen Stefanik take an L this big since Trump crushed her dreams of joining his administration. Oh, nasty. Nasty, nasty, nasty business. That's what politics is. It's a nasty business. It's not a very good business. It's nasty. Hold on. Ken K with another banger. Mamdani turned his haters into his waiters at the table of success is true. Girl is more racist than Trump? Yes. Oh, there's so much more copium. Sid Rosenberg, remember the guy who said Zohran Mamdani would celebrate another 9/11 happening? If you truly love and know Trump, Sid, then this press conference should have been expected. Anyone who truly understands Trump expected it to unfold just the way it did. Exactly.
So I'm right back in the chair I was sitting in my family room on October 8th, that Sunday morning, the day after October 7th. Same exact chair, same exact shirt. How weird is that? Didn't even realize that till just now. October 8th, 2023. Same chair. This is where I watched that press conference, if you will, between President Trump and Mayor-elect Mamdani. And I think a lot of you know how much I love President Trump. I think a lot of you know President Trump reciprocates that. In fact, I'll be in Washington, D.C. coming up in a couple of weeks when I am sworn in for President Trump's Holocaust Memorial Council. But with that said,
did the GOP just get cucked? I mean, I think ultimately, what will end up happening is Donald Trump always goes back to what his big donors tell him to do. He always listens, right? I am reminded of the defense that he delivered to Hamas in the aftermath of the peace plan, the so-called ceasefire plan that he implemented, where he was like, well, Hamas, they're doing their best. They have to deal with the criminals just like Trump. Trump wants to deal with the criminals and Hamas is dealing with the criminals. And then a couple days later, he got the boss call and was like, actually, they're being violent. They need to stop killing people now, you know? And I suspect that there will be another moment exactly like that, because a lot of the Zionist mega donors that he has, a lot of his Zionist mega donors are going to be making boss calls after this, freaking the out that he was functionally glazing Zohran, and Zohran is their number one op, right? It's crazy.
for me, Sid Rosenberg, I'm going to say it at the risk of pissing off President Trump, that was a tough press conference to watch, okay? He is a jihadist. Elise Stefanik is right. Sorry, Mr. President. His explanations about genocide and anti-Semitism, President Trump should have been...
I mean, we have to look at these guys like QAnon, man. I certainly do, but I hope other people also read it in the same way, where they're just like deeply insincere and genuinely psychotic people. If you look at someone like Zohran Mamdani and you're like, oh, he's a jihadist. If you look at someone like Zohran Mamdani and say he's a jihadist, he's an anti-Semite, like, you are so unimaginably racist that it's difficult to have a normal conversation with you. How can I have a normal conversation with a person like this? Like, you are just not living on the same plane of existence with the rest of us. Dude has the popular position on Israel. Okay? He has the popular position on Israel. He also has actively worked to overcome the false smears of anti-Semitism, many of which is directed his way because of his background, because of his Muslim background. Let's be real on that too, right? And yet, these are people who are still calling him a jihadist and like, it's not if you look at a guy like Zohran Mamdani and you say he's a jihadist anti-Semite for having the majority position on Israel, you're a psycho.
A lot tougher. I understand Trump wants New York to be great. So do I, President Trump. He doesn't even live here. He's got business interests here, but he's in Florida. He's in D.C. I live here. I have kids here. I need this city to be great. I understand all that. But to give this guy a pass, shaking hands and smiling and what a terrific guy and we're getting along great, I get it. Look, he goes to the Middle East. He gets along with the Arabs. He goes to Asia. He gets along with some of the guys there.
Yeah, he's not as racist as we want him to be, all right? Come on. Come on. We all want him to be a little bit more racist towards the Arabs, right? But he's not. He's not. He's not as racist towards the Arabs as we want him to be. It's all good, though. It's all good, though. You know, at the end of the day, he's still giving us what we fucking want. Does this man have eyes to see? No, he is so thumb-like that his eyelids have closed in on him.
I get it. That's how Trump operates. It's genius, really. That's how he's able to solve all these world conflicts. But this today between Trump and Mamdani, probably the toughest watch for me of any political press conference I've seen maybe ever. Sorry, Mr. President, he's not conning me. Not yet.
Okay, this is the only Zohran critique I abide by. Okay? Zohran might not be a true leftist because everyone actually likes him. And it's ironic because the person who made this comment, I think, has blocked me. Yep, there it is. There you go. This is what being a true leftist is all about. As soon as I see the grayed out retweet like bars, I'm like, oh, there it is. You are not a true leftist either by those standards, Lemafayao. What do you mean? Plenty of leftists despise me. I assume, including this guy. I don't know anything about him. I don't know who the this guy is, but he likes Zohran Mamdani, but he hates me. Think about that. I'm pretty sure everyone isn't a true leftist then. He's a reformist and not a revolutionary communist. I mean, I am a reformist. Probably someone who blocked you after October 7th, but then came around. Nah, he's too brown to have blocked me after October 7th. It's probably some other reason. I never watched your content before this recent controversy, but it made sense when I started watching why so many people hate you. When you really challenge power to that extent, they will loathe you. I think in the simplest terms, people just don't want someone constantly telling them this shit ain't right. Okay? People want to be sedated. What we're doing here is still entertainment. And people don't want to constantly hear about how awful everything is. Even though I try to do everything in my power to make it entertaining, ultimately, a lot of people lose their minds over this shit. They don't want to hear someone constantly tell them like, no, actually, this thing that you consider to be objectively good or this thing that you have deluded yourself into thinking is good is actually bad, and here's why. No one wants to hear that. People also don't have any nuance in the way that they operate. They don't have any room for disagreement. There's no room for ideological diversity, and I'm all about that. Ironically enough, contrary to what my haters present me as, I consistently tell people that it is okay to disagree with one another. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater all the time. This is, in and of itself, ironically, a thing that leftists also despise. Leftists hate that I say that sometimes. Some people disagree with me on that front, where they're like, how dare you? How dare you say that... how dare you say that, you know, we can be more understanding of people depending on, I mean, and be more cognizant of their background.
Deliver that affordability.
Anyway, let's continue with this.
CBS News political reporter Zach Kodak joining us live now. Zach, a lot of eyes on this conversation, on this meeting. You know, quite a different tone before this election. The president really now giving his stamp of approval for Mamdani, the two of them having a conversation, if you will, as opposed to prior to the election. Your thoughts and take on this?
Jules, I think it was somewhat of a surprise to all of us to see how well they were getting along, but I think at the heart of that is what they said they talked about before they let the cameras in, which is making New York affordable for New Yorkers. And I think really what that illustrates is the fine line between the far-right campaign that President Trump ran and the far-left Democratic Socialist campaign that Mamdani ran. We saw this even in the past with a lot of similarities between President Trump's campaigns and Bernie Sanders' campaigns. I think the reality here is that while they are on different ends of the political spectrum, they are both populists, and they both realize that what Americans care about most right now, and we continue to see this in the polling that we keep doing, is affordability and bringing prices down for Americans and helping everyday Americans. I think the other thing that played a factor in the two of them getting along so well is they are both extremely charismatic politicians. I think both of them, a lot of their political strength.
Yeah, I mean, they do have to hit the media has to hit this like very interesting centrist route on this stuff.
Recognize that in one another, and they recognize that there are ways that they could actually help one another. Now, there are some difficulties here. We know that House Republicans, for the most part, are going to run in 2026 in the midterms, largely against Mamdani. They plan to paint their opponents as connected to this Democratic socialist who is the mayor, or going to be the mayor of the largest city in the country. That does create, obviously, a tension between the way that President Trump is talking about them. We saw one of the questions from the press was about Elise Stefanik being very harsh on Mamdani, calling him a jihadist. And President Trump sort of batted that down and said he seems like a very reasonable guy, but she's out campaigning, and sometimes you say things when you're campaigning. So I think this wasn't quite what anyone expected, but there are explanations for it. And it seems that there is a bit of a budding bromance between these two.
Yeah, absolutely. They were on the same page on certain topics. Even the president saying he would live in New York under Mamdani's leadership as mayor, which he didn't say that weeks ago.
That's exactly right. It is a fact that President Trump hated passionately Bill de Blasio, and even Eric Adams. The two of them would rub each other the wrong way at times. But I think another factor here is that they are both expert flatterers. You saw them really flattering one another and praising one another in that press conference. And I think they both knew that it's not what was expected, and I think they both realized, the president even said at one point, the press is eating this up. And he was absolutely right, because it's not what people expected. And there is something that they can both get from one another. Mamdani needs the president to continue to allow federal funds to go to New York. Just about a month and a half ago, at the beginning of the shutdown, we saw the president halt nearly $20 million in federal funding that would have gone to infrastructure projects in New York. In order to enact his agenda, Mamdani is going to need federal funds, and there's about $10 billion in federal funds that theoretically could be halted by the administration. So he needs that from President Trump. President Trump, on the other hand, has a wide-ranging immigration agenda, particularly focused on major cities. He's going to need Mamdani to not be too much against that. I can't imagine that he'll go fully along with that. I can't imagine he'll want ICE on the streets of New York. But nonetheless, the president needs him to somewhat go along with that. And there's no question that this president is a New Yorker and loves New York. He clearly desires for it to be a place that welcomes him when he goes back there. He's spent in recent years.
Trump is a closeted Marxist-Leninist. Jusha is. He's showing his colors now that he talked with Zohran. Yeah, MAGA communism was real. I was so disrespectful to the ACP. It turns out MAGA communism was the true movement. I'm kidding. For the record, I'm not being sincere. Please don't take that seriously. This is the bonus of being a leftist. You know these people. You know these people better than their own fan base knows them, and you can play them like a fiddle. I feel like lots of people online will call this caving. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. Working poor seeks wealthy benefactor for the gifted sub. Help me out, chat. All peace and love. DSAL. Spread kindness for further.
More time in Florida. And as he mentioned, he said it's a place he could see himself living in the future. So I think they both have things to gain from having a friendly relationship with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach Hudak in Washington, thank you so much. And joining us live now is Joel Payne, CBS News political contributor and Chief Communications Officer for Move.
Okay, this is also a very funny thing that took place, for the record. Look at Hebrew media after Zohran Mamdani stood next to Donald Trump at the Oval Office and said the Israeli government is committing a genocide and our government is funding it. Here's Jerusalem Post, Times of Israel, and Khan News. Mamdani accuses U.S. of funding genocide by Israel during warm meeting with Trump. The Jerusalem Post. Mamdani accused Israel of genocide with U.S. funding during White House meeting. Mamdani, Israel's committing a genocide. President Trump, a rational man, not a jihadist. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. Holy moly. Things are going swimmingly well in Israel. You seem so happy. Well, the reason why I seem happy is, one, because I am happy. I'm in China. But the other reason why I seem so happy while covering the news right now is that the news is pretty good today, you know? Not every day, but today the news are pretty decent. It's a little weird, but it's also a little good. Well, fortunately, there's a third or maybe even fourth option in all these scenarios. Yeah, Peter Dow, my goat, former Hillary Clinton staffer and phalangist, Peter Dow, who now is a revolutionary communist himself. Nick Fuentes, I'd work with Mamdani. Hakeem Jeffries just voted to condemn socialism. Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's a genocide in Gaza. Obama speechwriter, what genocide? Tucker Carlson, slaughter of Gaza civilians is evil. Kamala Harris, Israel has a right to defend itself. Adam Johnson responds, well, fortunately, there's a third or maybe even fourth option in all these scenarios. Every 2 years, we have this realignment discourse. And I have to remind people that the defining feature of fascism is the co-option of rhetoric and aesthetics of left politics that peel people away to white nationalism that will, at the end of the day, always serve capital. There is no realignment. There is simply more sophisticated Nazis with dark money and a liberal establishment that would rather hold on to a dying neoliberal ideology than align themselves with leftist policies in a meaningful way. This is the truth. Straight up. That's why I always get annoyed with people who are like, whoa, well, Nick Fuentes said the left and the right must work together. And it's like, you are going to get killed if you believe that. That is a belief system that has caused people to die in the past. Socialists and communists are the first to go. Okay? Always. Because they are those who actually threaten the established hierarchy of capital. So they are first on the chopping block before anybody else. Shadi Hamid says, you can now call what Israel's done to the Palestinians a genocide of the White House, which happened today for the first time during Mamdani's remarks. That's the new normal. It's a sea change in how we talk about Israel. Progress. Matt Iglesias responds, progress towards what? I don't know. Towards the truth. Towards acknowledgement. God, he is so annoying. I cannot stand Matt Iglesias. I guess my article today was the last straw for Marjorie Taylor Greene. The strange new respect for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene saw Matt Iglesias support her and was like, I am quitting politics permanently. I will never return to politics. Now that I have garnered the respect of Matty Iglesias, who has made a career of being professionally wrong, I have realized that I am on the wrong path. I must go back to the drawing board and maybe take on other hobbies, like, for example, knitting, or CrossFit, or having sex in orgies like I used to with my CrossFit instructor. I am done. My job here is over. I have started taking mood stabilizers, and it has made me realize that I can no longer stand a man. Oh, Brian killed me. I forgot. As far as the Zohran, the Zomentum, and the copium. Let's take a look at what Brian Kilme just said.
There you go, live from Washington, D.C. That's what we just watched. Now I'm in New York City. We were watching that press conference. I think J.D. Vance is jealous. I think the president wants to use him as a running mate. They really got along fantastic. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade, lucky enough to fill in for Will Kane. You just saw it, President Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. So there you go, live.
I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting, that you people have gone crazy. You know, outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting. The biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares. But they did care about this meeting.
The press was foaming at the mouth. They thought it'd be the biggest brawl since Zelensky.
Days ago, he was desperate.
No. I didn't think so. I was very excited for it, and I thought it was going to be exactly like this. If you go back and see my coverage on it, I was like, no, this is going to surprise you, and it's going to be a lot nicer. Trump's going to be a lot nicer to Zohran than people think he is.
Who betrayed the country, who said I would be his worst nightmare, and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these?
Also, it's funny that Jesse Waters is like, oh, everybody is so stupid. They thought that this was going to be a real war brewing. They were so stupid. It's like, yeah, brother, you thought it was going to be a war. Your network thought so. Showdown with socialism. Actually, you know what? Let's do Hannity first, and then we'll do.
Was there and asked to meet with President Trump. The president graciously accepted, despite some pretty harsh smears leveled by Mamdani on the campaign trail against President Trump. Here's a reminder.
Just days ago, you referred to President Trump as a despot who had betrayed the country. You said you would be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together.
Been called a lot worse. Now, this could be a lesson for Democrats. Now, the president will put aside political differences, work with anyone, anywhere, anytime to make every corner of our country a better place. Take a listen.
We've just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people. We talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. Anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York. And we've got them down, way down from last year. I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am. I will say there's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Now, ultimately, this video of Mamdani and Trump in the Oval Office getting along, having a productive meeting is really only horrifying for Democrats. Where's the guy that was on the campaign trail saying he's going to beat Donald Trump's worst nightmare? Now, their far-left hero is shaking hands with the guy they called a fascist and a Nazi and a racist.
This is so
Very
funny. They
confusing
literally
for
went from
But
jihadist,
maybe, just
criminal
maybe,
terrorist
this
that
will
Donald
help
Trump is
some
going to
on the
destroy
left
to like,
emerge
he's
from their
actually such a
anti-Trump
nice guy.
psychosis, come back to reality. I am not holding my breath. Let me make a prediction. Over time, they will clash. They will clash heavily, and Donald Trump will win. So what went on behind today's closed-door meeting, and will Mamdani revert back to his extremist, Trump-hating, name-calling self when he gets back to New York? Probably. Anyway, here with more, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. I think that part publicly surprised them, but it's not really surprising, knowing President Trump as well as I do. He wants peace. This guy won the election. He asked for a meeting. The president met with him. But I don't see how they will reconcile defund, dismantle, no bail laws, empty the jails, and not support ICE in their attempt to enforce the law. I don't see any resolution there. Do you?
Well, Sean, you hit the nail on the head in your opener there. This meeting today really proved that President Trump is willing to meet with anybody, to sit across the table, to shake hands, look people in the eye, and have discussions on how they can mutually benefit the American public. And don't forget, President Trump is a lifelong New Yorker. He loves that city. He helped build the skyline as it exists and shines today. So, of course, he wants New York to succeed. He wants all of America to succeed, because he is a president for all Americans, despite what the Democrat Party and the leftist media might tell the American people every single day. The president. Interesting
takes overall. Oh, so he wants what's best for America by what? Aligning with a jihadist, communist, Islamo-communist, Marxist, socialist, That's weird. That doesn't make any sense, does it?
Of President Trump and this administration, rest assured to New Yorkers and all Americans, the president is going to continue to put you.
Bro, he literally said he was going to cut funds to New York like it's Cuba. Okay? He said he was going to do a trade embargo on New York City. Okay? What happened? What happened?
Energy independence. And
what
of
happened?
course, we are going to continue to mass deport illegal criminals from our communities. And
I'm sorry, but I don't think you can build a resilient movement that is at the mercy of one man and his own personal ambitions and his own personal narcissistic desires. Okay? There is no lifeline here post-Trump. It's so crazy. These guys have no consistent principles. They have no interest in ever yelling at Donald Trump. They have no interest in ever criticizing Donald Trump. They just literally leading up to this meeting, moments prior to this meeting, the Fox News commentary was this: Donald Trump is going to issue a smackdown like you've never seen before, destroying Zohran Mamdani. And then after the meeting, they're like, Donald Trump is the great uniter of America. He is doing a fantastic job. It is straight up a cult. And Trump has whipped them in line so perfectly. He has genuinely redesigned American politics and specifically the Republican Party in his own vision, where everyone with proximity to power, first and foremost, has to be loyal to Trump. No interest in any ideological consistency, no interest in ever doing anything really, other than whatever the Donald Trump wants.
The issue of cost of living, because it continues to be a concern for voters, and President Trump is very well aware of that. But look at what he's done thus far. It's a proven economic formula that is working when you combine a massive deregulatory campaign to get the government out of the way of small business and American industry. When you look at what he's done with respect to energy independence, to unleash America's resources right here at home to drive down oil prices, which we've already seen result in a 20% decrease in oil prices. We have lower prices at the pump today than we did years ago, and those prices are going to continue to decline. If you look at the cost of...
Like, if you're just a watcher at home, if you are just a watcher at home, and you're like MAGA, you're MAGA adjacent, or you're just fully MAGA, and you believe in maybe something beyond Donald Trump, and I guess it's kind of stupid to say you're MAGA and you believe in something beyond Donald Trump, because MAGA just only believes in Donald Trump, right? But if you have any sort of interest in politics, right? If you have any sort of interest in the political side of things, don't you get a little mad at least when you see this, when you're like, wait a minute, I thought this guy was a horrible monster. I thought this guy was a horrible monster, and all of a sudden Trump is turning around and saying he's hot and sexy and that we should like him. And all of these media, all the organs of media that are supposed to be telling me the truth just snapped in. Like there is not even a moment of moderation in order to transition to a pro-Zohran statement. Like, they did not even lean into it or slowly pivot in that direction. They just immediately, they're like, they got their marching orders and snapped into this position. It is shocking. Trump is obviously his own bizarre person with his weird psychology, but I can't help but cringe at how eager MAGA world guys are to play the worthy populist enemy shtick. Whenever the left does well, that they need to use our success as a validator says quite a lot about them. In the days before Zohran Mamdani's victory, I heard a telling phrase from Washington's MAGA political class: game recognized game. The context of this observation was President Donald Trump's begrudging fondness of my little communist, as he labeled New York City mayor-elect. By November 5th, the line was in the mouth of MAGA zeitgeister Steve Bannon, who told his followers on War Room, game respects game. The notes of celebration in the White House reaction to Mamdani reflect something real. Trump and his circle disdain the Bush-Ryan-Romney Republican establishment and the Clinton-Schumer-Jeffries Democratic establishment in equal measure. And they're eager to join a battle on the other side of the horseshoe, where left-wing and right-wing populists share a diagnosis that the American and global systems are fully discredited and are ready to fight it out for a new world order. I think there is some truth to this assessment, okay? There is some truth to this assessment that they see either side, like they see the left flank in a similar way, right? They see the left flank in a similar way to like the MAGA momentum. But I think they have great fear Steve Bannon is more fearful. Steve Bannon is more fearful of Zohran Mamdani than he lets on. I mean, he has actually openly said that too. He said that if the Zohran wing or the left wing of the party actually takes over the Democrats, we will never win another election again. Something along those lines, right? Because at least on paper and in theory, the left flank of the Democrats are actually invested in improving the material conditions of the working class. The right populist flank, the sloppulists, are not. They're only interested in using the aesthetics of fighting for the working class in order to win elections, while they actively try to reposition people's interests and redirect people's angst and animosity towards this broad elite that is defending all of the culture war issues that they want to converse on. That's the only thing that they want to fight on. Culture war shit, okay? You got the real populists, and then you got the sloppulists. People who cannot distinguish between the two end up falling into this like horseshoe dynamic. And you have centrist liberals who absolutely fall into this dynamic where they go, oh, both sides are extreme, both sides are radical, both sides are populist, right? Without actually recognizing that one side is genuinely invested in left-wing economic populism. The other side is simply using it because they recognize that it is the one true, genuine counter to the liberal hegemony that exists. That's why you kind of see the centrists and you know, people who abhor Zohran Mamdani, and even like the right wing kind of engage in this handshake.
I'm called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting.
Well, let's try that again.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
The name calling, that's politics. Trump's been giving it and taking it his whole career. This sends a signal to Democrats that Trump's really about business. And if he really was a dictator, would you let some guy come into your house and call you that? No. And did Mamdani go in there and hide his face like Big Gretch? No. Zohran's mayor, Trump's president, so let's get down to it.
I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great.
Trump and Zohran want the same thing for the city. They both want it to be safe and affordable. They might not always agree on how to get there, but instead of bickering, they've found common ground.
He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, etc. And, you know, we actually...
Yeah, they snapped back into pro-Zohran so hard that they're saying his name right, by the way. They're, like, the tone shift was so imminent. Quick question, why does Trump hate other socialists like Ilhan and AOC and loves Bernie and now Zohran? Could you share your analysis? National popularity. And also, they're women. Ilhan Omar is a black woman who is also Muslim, visibly Muslim. She is hijabi. AOC is a brown woman. Donald Trump definitely doesn't like those things, but I don't think AOC and Ilhan Omar are as I love Ilhan Omar, as you guys know, but the reality is, like, they are nowhere near as nationally popular as Bernie Sanders and Zohran Mamdani are. They're women. Donald Trump doesn't like that in general. They're black and brown women. Donald Trump doesn't like that at all. But in terms of why he also doesn't look past them like he does with look past that like he does with Claudia Sheinbaum is popularity. Claudia Sheinbaum is unimaginably popular. That's it. It's national popularity. Claudia Sheinbaum is popular.
People would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
Not just housing. Trump wants to rein in the electric company and help Mamdani fight crime. Trump says we're not going to throw good money after bad. He's not going to be sending money for government-run grocery stores. We're talking common sense stuff that helps the middle class. Some of their playbooks overlap.
I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted.
See, now this is exactly what I was saying. He is leaning into. He is trying to get a crumb of legitimacy on the affordability front by aligning with Zohran Mamdani, the guy who won on affordability. That's straight up what's going on here. And Fox is instantly leaning into it.
For the president last November, I heard again and again two major reasons. One was that they wanted an end to forever wars. They wanted an end to the taxpayer dollars we had funding violations of human rights, and they wanted to address the cost of living crisis.
A lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm okay with that.
Trump looks at Zohran like young Bernie, political outsiders who have some wacky ideas but have compassion for the working man and a lot of love from their base. Some Bernie bros voted for Trump, the same way some MAGA folks in Queens voted for Zohran. They have different policies with the same goals, making life more affordable for the average Joe. The difference between Zohran and Bernie, Mamdani beat the odds and the establishment.
I think he's different, all right? I think he's different, and that can be in a very positive way, but I think he's different than, you know, your typical guy, runs, wins, becomes mayor.
Love him or hate him, Zohran's fresh. And Trump likes to get his hands on new brands. He can work with anyone, Jews, Muslims, communists, little rocket man. The New York relationship is based on action and results, not labels and insults. Zohran might be a...
The relationship that Trump has is on results, not insults, is the funniest thing that you could say about Donald Trump as a politician. Donald Trump is literally almost exclusively the insult guy. Donald Trump is exclusively he's a quiet piggy to a journalist on Air Force One. Sometimes it's his only redeeming quality, as a matter of fact. Is Elon the little rocket man? No, it's Kim Jong-un. Loomer is still having a major meltdown. That's awesome. God damn, dog. American politics are so good. I mean, it's a clown show. It is an absolute and utter clown show. This was another thing that took place before the Zohran meeting, where the House passed the resolution condemning socialism ahead of the Zohran Mamdani Trump meeting, with 87 Democrats also voting to condemn socialism.
Hours before Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani arrived in Washington for his first meeting with President Trump, the House of Representatives passed a bipartisan resolution condemning the, quote, horrors of socialism.
Let's find out more about this. Political reporter Marcia Kramer joins us once again to tell us the details. Marcia?
Okay, Jay and Dick. Far be it from me to be a conspiracy theorist, but it was probably no accident that the House voted to condemn socialism on the very day New York City's mayor-elect, a Democratic socialist, met with President Trump at the White House. Now listen to this. The resolution was introduced nearly a month ago, but Republicans decided to bring it to the floor for a vote today.
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing...
Socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
Standing next to President Trump in the Oval Office, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani batted away a question about a resolution passed by the House that decried the horrors of socialism. The resolution was voted on just as Mamdani was arriving in Washington to meet with the president.
A yes vote on this resolution should be a relatively straightforward, easy decision. It simply states that Congress denounces socialism in all its forms and opposes the implementations of socialist policies in the United States of America.
The resolution passed in a bipartisan vote of 285 to 98, but it was particularly embarrassing to the newly elected mayor because among the 86 Democrats who supported the measure were 14 congressmen from New York and Jersey. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who only endorsed Mamdani at the 11th hour of the mayor's race, voted with the Republicans to support the measure. Other New Yorkers who also supported the measure included Congressman Richie Torres of the Bronx, Greg Meeks and Grace Meng of Queens, and Laura Gillen and Tom Suozzi of Long Island, fell for Mamdani during the mayoral campaign. Among the Democrats voting against the measure was Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
I wish we were here on the House floor this morning debating solutions that would reduce grocery bills, lower housing costs.
Democrats still eat this bait for no reason, or not no reason because they're stupid, but it is unbearable. It is unbearable to watch the Democrats behave like this every single time. These guys say, oh, we're going to condemn socialism, And then Democrats end up going, yes, we're condemning socialism, thinking, yes, we're going to condemn socialism, thinking that this is going to cause the Republicans to turn around and be like, well, see, these Democrats are different. They're condemning socialism. They're not. They're not going to do that. They're saying socialism is bad, and they're reiterating it over and over again while simultaneously calling you socialist. You idiots. Oh my God. Under no circumstance does anybody actually turn around and go, oh, well, I guess Hakeem Jeffries is not a socialist anymore. They still think you're a socialist. This is so stupid. It's so stupid. They think this is how you lead a party without realizing that the base is leading and gonna leave them behind. Yeah, it creates anger and resentment even amongst the base of support for the Democrats now, unnecessarily. It also cooks. It also just like it causes them to step on this landmine for no reason. Just be like, no, I'm not condemning socialism. What the does this have to do with anything? Shut up. You call everything socialist. You call helping people. You call helping the working man socialist, and you want us to say it's a bad thing? We're the Democratic Party. Call it socialism, call it communism, call it whatever you want to call it. But we are here to defend the working class is the unified approach to this sort of idiotic thing.
In Trump's tariffs strangling American small businesses and manufacturers, solve the Republican health care crisis, or any legislation that allows Americans to afford to live through the catastrophic economic policies of Trump and the Republicans.
Now, the measure was also supported by Staten Island Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, whose mother fled Cuba in 1959. Malliotakis said her mother left Cuba to avoid what she called, quote, the very things that our new socialist mayor in New York City says he wants.
Of course, the president does support now some of those policies. So that mixes up everything, doesn't it?
It does mix up everything.
Okay. Thanks, Marcia.
Thank you, Marcia.
If there is someone who has seen the horrors of socialism up close within the Democratic Party is in the House, and it's the Honorable Congresswoman Maxine Waters. And I would love for you to support this resolution specifically, because Madam Waters, for decades, you traveled to Cuba dozens of times to visit Fidel Castro personally, whom you consider your friend. Congresswoman Waters was in Havana, and she saw the destruction of biblical proportions that Castro caused on that island, who at the time in 1960 had the highest per capita income in the Western Hemisphere. At that time, Madam Waters knew that thousands and thousands of Cubans were escaping on a raft, exposing their lives and their children to be eaten by the sharks. She knew that Afro-Cubans were being beaten on the streets of Havana, discriminated against by Fidel Castro, Mr. Speaker. And for that reason, I am bringing up all these facts, because Madam Waters knew that the Cuban jails were full of political prisoners, and the Cubans did not have the same privileges that we are having right now to speak freely. At that time, Madam Waters never raised her voice to denounce the horrors of socialism, Mr. Speaker. For that reason, I am asking Madam Waters.
For what purpose the lady from California seeks recognition?
I move to take her words down.
Order. The House will be in order. The lady from California, for what purpose do you rise?
I rise to take down her words.
Lady from Florida, please be seated. I'd ask the clerk to please report the words.
I think it's so funny. I think it's very funny that the Republican Party is like running around being like, we must disavow socialism. Socialism is so dangerous. And then mere hours later, Donald Trump is like, I love socialism. Socialism is a great economic system, very different than capitalism. I like capitalism more, but socialism not so bad. Look at my little communist, Zohran Mamdani. Very cool. He's very cool and handsome. Very, like,
he is recognized.
He's awesome. Yeah, no, good job, Democrats. Glad that you guys actually took a position on this and then got outflanked by Donald Trump, who seems to have a better opinion about a socialist candidate than you do, even though he's supposed to be in your party. It is awesome. This is the world's most confusing day for centrist Democrats who just voted to condemn socialism and then tried to sink Mamdani's campaign for months. Like, it almost feels like Donald Trump is actively trying to to dagger the establishment Democrats today. Fantastic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My blood pressure's up right now. I cannot believe just what I heard on the House floor. The ranking member of this distinguished committee denouncing Trump, but will not denounce socialism on the House floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. History is clear. Socialism
Basketball
kills
stream or
people, leads to
re-riot?
deaths
I
of
want to
tens
do a
of
basketball
millions,
stream.
crushes religious liberty, and destroys free markets. Our founders built this nation on a revolutionary...
Socialism destroys precious liberty and denounces free markets. Nice. Not the free markets. I'm so angry right now, I could lose my mind. How dare you denounce the precious free markets? Awesome. Thanks, man.